his ships drive faster even than hyperspace. The third level drive, which would bring all the galaxies of the universe within reach. And now 9 ships were gone out of 15, and 19 men out of 30. The communication barrier, Brender said. The damned communication barrier has been the cause behind the loss of every ship. And there is nothing we can do about it. We're stymied by it. The conversation was terminated shortly afterward, and he moved about the room restlessly, wishing that it was time to lift the ship again. With Johnny not there, the dark world was like a smothering tomb. He would like to leave it behind and drive again into the star clouds of the galaxy, drive on into them. A ghostly echo touched his mind, restlessly, poignantly yearning. He swung to face the locked door, knowing there could be nothing behind it. The first real fear came to him as he did so. The thing was lonely. The thing that watched him was as lonely as he was. What else could any of it be but the product of a mind in the first stage of insanity? The natives came 10 minutes later. The view screen showed their chemically powered vehicles emerge from the trees and roll swiftly across the glades. 4 natives were in it, while a 5th one lay on the floor, apparently badly injured. The vehicle stopped a short distance in front of the airlock, and he recognized the native on the floor. It was Throon, the one with whom he had been exchanging language lessons. They were waiting for him when he emerged from the ship, pistol-like weapons in their belt and grim accusations in their manner. Throon was muttering unintelligibly, unconscious. His skin, where not covered by the brown fur, was abnormal in appearance. He was dying. The leader of the 4 indicated Throon and said in a quick, brittle voice, "Ko rigar fin no dran." Only the one word was familiar, Ko, which meant you and yesterday, and a great many other things. The question was utterly meaningless to him. He dropped his hands a little nearer his blaster, and the leader spoke again, a quick succession of unknown words that ended with a harshly demanded "Krison!" Krison meant now, or very quickly. All the other words were unfamiliar to him. They waited, the grim menace about them increasing when he did not answer. He tried in vain to find some way of explaining to them he was not responsible for Throon's sickness, and could not cure it. Then he saw the spray of leaves that had caught on the corner of the vehicle when it came through the farther trees. They were of a deep purple color. All the trees around the ship were almost gray by contrast, which meant that he was responsible for Throon's condition. The cold white light of the ship's floodlights, under which he and Throon had sat for day after day, contained radiations that went through the violet and far into the ultraviolet. To the animal and vegetable life of the dark world such radiations were invisibly short and deadly. Throon was dying of hard radiation sickness. It was something he should have foreseen and avoided, and that would not have happened had he accepted old Throon's pantomimed invitation in the beginning to go with him into the village to work at the language study. There he would have used a harmless battery lamp for illumination, but there was no certainty that the natives were not planning to lay a trap for him in the village, and he had refused to go. It did not matter. There was a complex radiation neutralizer and a cell reconstructor in the ship which would return Throon to full, normal health in a few hours after he was placed in its chamber. He turned to the leader of the 4 natives and motioned from Throon to the airlock. "Go there," he said in the native language. "Bron!" the leader answered. The word meant no, and there was a determination in the way he said it that showed he would not move from it. At the end of 5 minutes, his attempts to persuade them to take Throon into the ship had increased their suspicion of his motives to the point of critical danger. If only he could tell them why he wanted Throon taken into the ship, but he could not and would have to take Throon by first disposing of the 4 without injuring them. This he could do by procuring one of the paralyzing needle guns from the ship. He took a step towards the ship and spoke the words that to the best of his knowledge meant, "I come back. Festuin illit cla." Their reply was to snatch at their weapons in desperate haste, even as the leader uttered a hoarse word of command. He brought up the blaster with the quick motion that long training had perfected, and their weapons were only half drawn when his warning came, "Braun!" They froze, but did not release their weapons. He walked backward to the airlock, his blaster covering them, the tensely waiting manner in which they watched his progress telling him that the slightest relaxation of his vigilance would mean his death. He did not let the muzzle of the blaster waver until he was inside the airlock and the outer door had slid shut. He was sure that the natives would be gone when he returned. And he was sure of another thing, that whatever he said to them, it was not what he had thought he was saying. He saw that the glade was empty when he opened the airlock again. At the same time, a bomb-like missile struck the ship just above the airlock and exploded with a savage crash. He jabbed the close button, and the door clicked shut barely in advance of 3 more missiles which hammered at the impervious armor. So that, he thought wearily, is that. He laid the useless needle gun aside. The stage was past when he could hope to use it. He could save Thrun only by killing some of the others, or he could lift the ship and leave Thrun to die. Either action would make the natives hate and fear Terrans, a hatred and fear that would be there to greet all future Terran ships. That was not the way a race gave birth to the peaceful galactic empire, was not the purpose behind the plan, but always, wherever the exploration men went, they encountered the deadly barrier, the intangible, unassailable communication barrier. With the weapons an exploration man carried in his ship, he had the power to destroy a world, but not the power to ask the simple questions that would prevent fatal misunderstandings. And before another 3 years had passed, the last exploration man would die. The last exploration ship would be lost. He felt the full force of hopelessness for the first time. When Johnny had been alive, it had been different. Johnny, who had laughed whenever the outlook was the darkest and said, "We will find a way, Paul." The thought broke, as suddenly, unexpectedly, he felt that Johnny was very near. With the feeling came the soft enclosure of a dreamlike peace, in which Johnny's death was vague and far away, only something that had happened in another dream. He knew, without wondering why, that Johnny was in the control room. A part of his mind tried to reject the thought as an illusion. He did not listen. He did not want to listen. He ran to the ship's elevator, stumbling like one not fully awake. Johnny was waiting for him in the control room, alive. Alive. He spoke as he stepped into the control room. "Johnny?" Something moved at the control board, black and alien, standing tall as a man on short hind legs. Yellow eyes blazed in a feline face. It was a cave cat, like the ones that had killed Johnny. Realization was a wrenching shock and a terrible disillusionment. Johnny was not waiting for him, not alive. He brought up the blaster, the dreamlike state gone. The paw of the cave cat flashed out and struck the ship's master light switch with a movement faster than his own. The room was instantly, totally dark. He fired, and a pale blue fire lanced across the room to reveal that the cave cat was gone. He fired again, quickly and immediately in front of him. The pale beam revealed only the ripped metal floor. "I am not where you think." The words spoke clearly in his mind, but there was no directional source. He held his breath, listening for the whisper of padded feet as the cave cat flashed in for the kill, and made a swift analysis of the situation. The cave cat was telepathic and highly intelligent and had been on the ship all the time. It and the others had